In the heart of a sprawling, windswept ranch, nestled on the outskirts of civilization, lies the home of Ethan Hawke, a billionaire whose fortune is shrouded in mystery. The ranch, with its towering oak trees and endless stretches of golden plains, seems like a paradise, but there's something unsettling about the place. The wind, which sweeps across the land like a living thing, carries with it whispers of secrets long buried. Ethan, a man known for his quiet strength and enigmatic charm, has always been an outsider to the world. His wealth, amassed through brilliant business moves, has earned him respect, but also rumors. He prefers solitude, away from the glare of public attention, choosing instead to spend his days tending to the land and keeping a close-knit circle of loyal staff. Yet, lately, something has changed. His longtime ranch hand, Luke Harris, a man with a sharp eye and a quiet demeanor, has noticed Ethan's growing restlessness. The once composed billionaire has become withdrawn, his movements more frantic, his mind often lost in distant thoughts. It's as if he's expecting something, or perhaps running from it. On this particularly stormy evening, as dark clouds gather and winds howl through the trees, Luke finds himself at the barn, preparing for the coming tempest. He's no stranger to harsh weather, but tonight's storm feels different, ominous, even. Just as he secures the last of the horses, a distant sound pierces through the roaring winds. Hooves, galloping at full speed. A horse, no, his horse is charging through the storm, desperate, trembling, and drenched. But what surprises Luke more than the horse's state is the strange, urgent note tied to its tail. The storm arrived without warning. One moment, the sky was clear, bathed in the warm glow of a fading sunset. The next, it was consumed by a roiling mass of dark clouds, their tendrils stretching across the horizon like fingers of a beast coming to life. The wind picked up first, an unrelenting howl that bent trees and tossed loose debris through the air. It was the kind of storm that didn't ask for permission, it simply demanded to be heard. Luke Harris, accustomed to the unpredictable weather of the ranch, had seen his fair share of violent storms. But this one felt different. There was an intensity to it, a fury in the wind that seemed to echo the unsettling mood that had gripped Ethan Hawke in recent days. The air felt thick with anticipation, as if something, or someone, was about to be revealed. Standing in the barn, Luke hurried to finish securing the animals. He worked quickly, knowing that the worst of the storm was still on its way. His hands moved mechanically, checking the stalls and making sure the horses were safe, but his mind was elsewhere. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming, something he wasn't prepared for. The first raindrops came in a steady, rhythmic drumming, quickly growing into a torrential downpour. The barn's roof groaned under the weight of the storm, and Luke felt a deep unease settle in his chest. Thunder cracked through the sky, its violent roar shaking the ground beneath his feet. It was a deafening sound, as if nature itself was rebelling, pushing against the stillness that had reigned here for so long. Luke stepped outside, his boots sinking into the muddy earth, and squinted against the driving rain. The ranch, normally so tranquil, now appeared like a different world, wild, untamed, and full of hidden danger. The wind tore at his jacket as he pulled his collar higher, his face stinging from the cold spray of rain. It was then that he heard it, a sound cutting through the chaos. Hooves. The unmistakable sound of a horse, pounding across the land in desperation. Luke's heart skipped a beat as he turned towards the sound, straining to see through the blinding sheets of rain. Then, through the haze of the storm, a dark figure emerged, a horse, running wild, its mane flying behind it like a banner of defiance. But what struck Luke the most was not the horse's frantic state, nor the violent storm. It was the note tied firmly to the animal's tail, fluttering like a flag of urgency. Luke stood frozen for a moment, his eyes fixed on the frantic horse as it neared the barn, the thunderous sound of its hooves drowning out the storm's rage. The horse was one of Ethan's prized stallions, a magnificent creature known for its strength and endurance. But now, its coat was matted with rain, its eyes wild with fear. The animal skidded to a halt just feet away from Luke, its chest heaving with exhaustion. It was clear that this horse had run for miles, through the worsening storm, driven by some unseen force. Luke's heart raced as he cautiously approached the animal, whispering calming words. But the horse didn't respond to him the way it normally would. Instead, it seemed agitated, restless, as if it had a purpose beyond simple fatigue. Then, Luke's gaze was drawn to something odd. A thin, weathered piece of paper was tied securely to the horse's tail, flapping violently in the wind. The note seemed almost out of place, a strange contrast to the ferocity of the storm. It was as if the storm itself had carried it here, driven by the same urgent force that had pushed the horse to its breaking point. Without hesitation, Luke carefully untied the paper, his hands trembling. The note was worn, the ink smeared in places, but the words were still legible. As he read, his breath caught in his throat. Ethan's life is in danger. They know about the vault. Find it before they do. L. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Ethan's life in danger? They know about the vault? The storm roared in the background, as if punctuating the gravity of the message. Who was L? And what vault was this note referring to? Luke didn't understand. Ethan had never mentioned any vault, at least, not in the way this note implied. 1,000 questions rushed through Luke's mind. Why would anyone want to hurt Ethan? The billionaire had always been reclusive, living a life of solitude in his sprawling ranch. What was this vault? Was it connected to his fortune? Or something darker, something far more dangerous? Luke's fingers tightened around the note. The urgency in those few words was undeniable. Whoever L was, they were counting on Luke to act and fast. He had to find answers before it was too late. The note burned in Luke's hand as he stood in the barn, the storm raging in the distance like an angry beast. He had to act, and quickly. The message was clear. Ethan's life was in danger, and whoever had sent this warning knew something that Luke did not. There was talk of a vault hidden, mysterious, and crucial. But where was it? What did it contain? And why had Ethan never mentioned it? Luke's first instinct was to rush into the main house and confront Ethan, but the billionaire was notoriously private, and Luke couldn't shake the feeling that Ethan might already know more than he was letting on. He had to be careful, methodical. If this was about the vault, something Ethan had kept hidden for years, then Luke needed to search for answers quietly, without raising suspicions. The mansion was quiet as Luke made his way through the darkened halls. Ethan's study, located at the far end of the house, was his most personal space. There, Luke had seen Ethan pore over old blueprints of the ranch, letters from business partners, and family journals. Ethan rarely allowed anyone to enter the study uninvited, but this was different. This was a matter of life and death. Luke approached the heavy oak door, its intricate carvings a testament to the old-world charm of the mansion. With a glance over his shoulder to make sure no one was watching, he turned the knob and stepped inside. The room smelled faintly of cedar wood and tobacco, a scent Luke had grown familiar with over the years. The dim light from the desk lamp cast long shadows across the room, giving it an almost ghostly quality. Luke's eyes scanned the room, looking for anything that might give him a clue. He had been in the study countless times before, but now it felt different. As if the walls were holding secrets, as if Ethan had left something hidden for him to find. He moved to the desk, pushing aside piles of paperwork, and found a large, worn leather binder tucked beneath a stack of old newspapers. The binder was heavy, and the edges were frayed with age. He opened it slowly, carefully. The first few pages were filled with personal letters, some from business associates, others from family members long gone. Then, near the back of the binder, he found a series of blueprints, maps of the ranch, sketches of the barn and outbuildings, and one marked with strange symbols and notations in the margins. Luke's heart skipped a beat as he traced his fingers over the paper. One of the symbols matched the description in the note. It was the same symbol Ethan had once used to mark private areas of the ranch, places where only he and a select few had access. But there was something more. The blueprint indicated a hidden room deep beneath the main house, a section of the ranch Luke had never even heard of. The plans showed a concealed entrance beneath the floorboards of the study, marked with a faint X. The vault, it seemed, was directly below him. Luke's pulse quickened. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. Ethan had a hidden vault, one that no one knew about except for a few trusted individuals. But why had he never mentioned it? What was in that vault that had caused so much secrecy? Was this treasure? Or was it something far more dangerous? He needed more information. Luke continued to search the desk, his hands moving swiftly over the papers, when his fingers brushed against something cold, a small metal key, intricately designed and old, as if it had been passed down through generations. It was heavy, like a key meant to unlock something far more important than any simple door. He slid the key into his pocket, deciding that he would need it when he found the vault. He wasn't sure what lay ahead, But he knew one thing for certain: Ethan was hiding something, and whatever it was, it could be the key to understanding why his life was now in danger. The storm outside had died down to a soft drizzle, but the air in the study felt heavy, thick with the weight of secrets. Luke stood there for a moment, lost in thought. He could sense the storm had passed, but a new one had begun, one that would take him deep into the heart of Ethan's past. As he turned to leave the study, a shuffling noise from the hallway caught his attention. Someone was coming. Luke froze, his hand resting on the door handle. His breath caught in his throat. Had Ethan found him snooping? Or was someone else coming to stop him from uncovering the truth? The shuffling noise in the hallway grew louder. Luke's heart raced as he swiftly stuffed the key into his pocket and moved to the shadows, pressing himself against the wall. His breath was shallow, and for a moment he felt an overwhelming urge to run through the door and escape with the answers he had found. But he couldn't. Not now. Not when he was so close. The footsteps were slow, deliberate, the sound of boots dragging against the old wooden floorboards. Luke held his breath. Whoever it was, they weren't in a hurry. The door to the study creaked open, and in stepped Ethan Hawke, his tall frame silhouetted against the dim light in the hallway. But something was different about him tonight. He wasn't the composed, confident billionaire Luke had known for years. There was a weariness in his eyes, a tension in his posture that made him look smaller, more vulnerable than usual. Ethan glanced around the study, his eyes flicking over the disorganized papers and the open binder. It didn't take long for him to notice the missing map and the open drawer. His gaze narrowed. "Luke!" Ethan's voice was low, almost a whisper, but it was enough to make Luke's heart skip a beat. "I knew you'd find it eventually." Luke stepped forward, unable to hide his shock. "Ethan, what the hell is going on? What's all this? The vault, the map, the key, why didn't you tell me?" Ethan's expression softened, and he took a deep breath, as if preparing himself for a confession long overdue. "You've been working here for years, Luke. I thought you knew. I thought you could sense the danger. But I've kept you in the dark for a reason. A good reason." Luke's mind raced. The secrets that Ethan was hinting at were far deeper than anything he had imagined. Ethan walked past Luke, his hands trembling slightly as he moved to the window. He looked out into the distance, the dark sky illuminated by flashes of lightning, and for a moment he seemed to be contemplating something far beyond the confines of the ranch. "The vault, Luke," Ethan began, his voice distant. "It's not just about wealth. It's not about money or power. It's about survival." Luke frowned. "Survival? What are you talking about?" Ethan turned to face him, the weight of years of hidden knowledge settling on his shoulders. "My family, my father, he wasn't just a businessman. He was part of something bigger. Something dangerous." Ethan's hands clenched into fists at his sides. "When he disappeared, he left behind a legacy, one that I've been trying to escape ever since. But I can't. Not anymore." Luke stared at him, trying to process the gravity of the revelation. Ethan was no longer just a reclusive billionaire. He was a man haunted by his family's past, by something far darker than Luke could have imagined. "The vault," Ethan continued, his voice shaking slightly, "holds the key to everything. My father's fortune, yes. But also something far more dangerous. It's a weapon, Luke. A weapon that could change the world. And there are people who want it. People who will stop at nothing to get it. People who don't care about the lives they destroy in the process." Luke's mind raced as the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The note. The urgency. The storm. It all made sense now. Whoever had sent the warning knew about the danger lurking in that vault, and they were trying to protect it from falling into the wrong hands. But who had sent the note? And why had Ethan kept the truth from him? "I've been running from this my entire life," Ethan said, his voice growing softer. "When my father disappeared, I thought I could bury the past, leave it all behind. But it's not that simple. The people after the vault, they found me. They know I'm here. They know what's hidden in that room." Luke's pulse quickened. "And you think they're coming for you now?" Ethan nodded slowly. "They're already here." Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the hallway. Luke's heart skipped a beat as the door to the study slammed open. Standing in the doorway was a man Luke didn't recognize, tall, imposing, with cold, calculating eyes. He was dressed in dark, expensive clothing, and his presence alone sent a chill through the room. "You should have listened to me, Ethan," the man said, his voice smooth but laced with menace. "You had your chance to hand over the vault. Now we take it." Ethan's face went pale, but he didn't flinch. "You're too late," he said, his voice steady. "The vault is protected. You'll never get to it." The man's lips curled into a smile. "We'll see about that." Luke instinctively moved to position himself between Ethan and the stranger, his pulse pounding in his ears. He was no hero, just a rancher caught in a storm of lies and betrayal. But something inside him stirred a sense of duty, of loyalty to the man who had always treated him like family. "Who are you?" Luke demanded, his voice shaky but firm. The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he took a step forward, his eyes scanning the room. "I am the one who will finish what your father started, Ethan. And once I have the vault, you'll no longer be a problem." Before Luke could react, the man reached into his coat and pulled out a small, sleek device. With a single press of a button, a hidden door in the wall to the left of the study slid open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into the darkness. Luke turned to Ethan, his eyes wide with disbelief. "You knew this would happen. You knew they were coming." Ethan's face was ashen, his eyes filled with regret. "I never wanted this for you, Luke. I never wanted you involved in this madness. But now, you're already in it. And the only way out is to stop them from getting what they want." The man's voice rang out again, sharp and cold. "Enough talk. The vault is mine." Luke exchanged a tense glance with Ethan. There was no turning back now. The storm outside may have subsided, but inside, another storm had just begun. The tension in the room was palpable as the man stepped closer, his presence dominating the space. Ethan stood frozen, but Luke's instincts kicked in. He couldn't let this man take control of the vault, not after everything he had learned. His mind raced, looking for a way out, a way to protect Ethan and the ranch. But it was too late for subtlety. Luke knew there was only one option left. Without a second thought, he grabbed the metal key from his pocket and turned it over in his hand. It was heavy, cold, but somehow reassuring. The key that had been passed down for generations was the last safeguard. He looked at Ethan, who nodded in silent understanding. They had one shot to stop the intruder and protect the vault. "Stay back," Luke growled, stepping forward. He held the key up, hoping the man would hesitate long enough for him to act. But the stranger's smile only deepened. "Do you really think that key will save you?" the man taunted. "You're playing a losing game, rancher." Luke didn't respond. He turned quickly, running to the hidden door, flinging it open. As he descended the staircase into the darkness below, he could hear the man's footsteps following, but the vault was within reach now. The secrets, the danger, and the truth, they all led here. The final confrontation was about to unfold, and Luke was ready to face whatever came next. He wasn't just fighting for the vault anymore, he was fighting for the future. And whatever happened, there was no turning back.